So let's have a little chat, shall we? Let's have a little chat. Let's have a little occult chat. I was thinking about something. I'm always thinking. My mind is running a trillion minutes per second with ideas and thoughts and things of that nature. But I was thinking about something. I'm always for going back to the past so we can deconstruct and understand our future. And when I say our future, I'm referring to your own personal future, your own personal experiences of the past, like I talked about with the woman named Flory, Miss Flory, that I talked about in my last video, and how spiritual bullying, can impact you, especially when they are strongly indoctrinated into certain religions, but we talked about that already. Might touch on that again, here and there, but I want to talk about something else. You know, I remember growing up during the 90s when I went into, what was it, the eighth grade? The eighth grade. I had to switch junior high schools under some very traumatic circumstances that I don't really want to talk about. I've talked about it before. And I ended up going to a school called Shaw Junior High School. For those people who live in DC, you know what I'm talking about. Shaw Junior High in the early 90s was a war zone. It was a war zone. And it was almost like being in a prison because it was a culture shock to me. And I really had no protection. The only protection I had was of the universe or the divine spirit or God or whatever you want to call that being. Because it's amazing that I was able to go to that school, not know anyone there, and I never got jumped, I never got shot or anything. But I remember when I had to transfer to Shaw Junior High School, um, it was a major culture shock because that was the first time that I really experienced really low level, ratchet, ghetto teenagers I mean, it's one thing to be ghetto, but it's a whole nother ball game being ratchet, don't care, evil mentality that I had to deal with going to school with those entities and monsters that I went to school with. And it was male and female. Male and female. It wasn't just the men, it was male and female entities and monsters who wasn't shit. And what's so interesting is a lot of their lives did not turn out that great. There was this one guy, I think his name was Ashanti. He's dead now. He was such a nasty bully. And what's so interesting is he died at the age of 36 in 2016 due to liver failure. Very interesting. And that's not alleging, it's what happened, and I don't care who hears this, and I don't give a fuck who gets offended by it. He was a bully. He was a nasty person, you know? And when I go back and I just look at, I'm talking about the men in this context. When I think of all of the men or the young boys who were my age at that time, 13, 14, I have to ask myself, were they being groomed at that age by someone? Is the whole thing with gangs about not being gay, but homosexuality. See, there's a difference between homosexuals and being gay. You know, some gangs do have homosexual rituals as a form of their initiation to bring you into the gang or to let you enter into the gang. There are some homosexual rituals that they do. And when I go back and really think about all of the men that I've had issues with in school, from junior high up into high school when I became a little older, it just makes me wonder, is that where a lot of the homosexuality in the 90s among black men really started to flourish? Here is what I'm talking about. And let me say this as a disclaimer, I don't give a fuck who this offends. What grown man goes around talking about, that's my man, that's my man's? Now, I can understand women saying that amongst each other because women are different, they're a different species. You know, I can understand women saying, oh, that's my girl, you know what I mean? Oh, that's my girl, you know what I mean? That's fine. You know, that's fine for women to do that. But if we're talking about a group of people who say they're manly men and saying that they're alpha men and they're representations for masculinity, not attacking anybody, but I'm pointing something out. You have people like Andrew Tate, for example, who's supposed to be the representation for what, manhood, but yet all he has been accused of is bullying and abusing and even SAing women. But that's another story. I remember how back in the 90s, men would jump other men if if they got into an altercation, if one of their friends got into an altercation with another person, they would all come and try to jump you. That's how it was in the 90s. And I know people may be offended when I say this, but you know what I'm starting to wonder? Were those guys, those teenage boy gangs, were they involved in homosexual ritual? Is that why they felt like if another person got into it with one of their friends, they felt like they had to defend that person because that was more than just their friend? That was their man they were defending. That was their man. So of course they were going to defend their man. But the problem is that I saw them defending other men, but you never saw them defending women. You never saw that. They would jump on a nigga in a minute if they messed with somebody that they were closely associated with and of no blood relation. And I'm not talking about a group of people. I'm talking about they would jump on one person. If one person had a disagreement with someone that they knew, they would try to jump the person like they tried to do me. But of course, it didn't work, child. It didn't work out in their favor, child. Okay? Of course, it didn't work out in their favor because I whooped their ass. I remember I was going to Shaw Junior High School, and this little short ass motherfucker named Robert, he was sitting behind me, and I asked him to stop kicking my chair. I said, could you please stop kicking my chair? And that created a feud between he and myself. Right? He tried to get people. Now, this is maybe my first day at Shaw. He tried to get people to jump me, but it didn't work out that way. Didn't work out. Then I remember, see, I didn't know all of this was going on. My younger brother, he knew a lot of the guys that went to my junior high school. Now, at the time, my younger brother was going to, no, he wasn't in junior high school at that time. He was in elementary school, but my younger brother knew a lot of the older guys because he hung around older guys all the time. And huh, he told me, he said, the reason they keep messing with you is because they want you to be in their gang. I said, what? I was like, what? I said, I ain't being in no goddamn gang. He said, they want you to be in their gang. I said, okay. Not long after that, a bunch of niggas showed up at our house. Some of them I knew, some of them I knew from school, thinking that they was going to jump me and my brother because they wanted me to be in the gang with them. One of the dudes, his name was a Haji or a Haji. See, they thought they was going to bully me, child. They thought they was going to bully me. You know, they thought they was going to bully me, but see, they didn't know what they, listen, they did not know the type of demon that they had on their hands fucking with me. Why would you fuck with me of all people? With all of the baggage that I come with and the level of crazy that's in my mind? This dude thought that he was going to do whatever to me, right? I whooped his ass in front of the cafeteria, in front of the damn teacher. And I think after that, that's when they wanted to jump me. They wanted to jump me after that because they were part of that gang down back in the day called 1512 Child. That was a gang. It was a building, but that was a gang back in the day. But anyway, when I sit back and I really examine what was really going on, and not just at Shaw, but also, crossing over to going to high school at Coolidge, when I really began to understand what was going on, this was ritualistic homosexuality. A lot of these gangs that are supposed to be manly man, they are undercover homosexuals. They have girlfriends, they have wives, they have children, but at the same time, they have homosexual tendencies. And they will jump other men and probably women too if you say something wrong or if you get into it with one of their fellow gang members. Because usually men allow other men to handle, they allow other men to handle their own beef and their own business. But when you start seeing men jump in fights that are one-on-one, fights with other men or boys, it doesn't matter. When you see them do that, you have to ask yourself, is this a case of homosexuality? Are they lovers? And chances are they are. These niggas are lovers. That's why they get so upset when their counterparts, or if they feel their counterparts, are being threatened by someone else. That's why they feel they have to jump in and get involved. Because they're lovers. I remember an incident, and I've talked about this before. I was at Coolidge High School at this point. I was attending Coolidge at this point. And I'm on the chunky, chubby side, and I remember you know, I was walking home. I was going to summer school because my grades were not that great at Coolidge. And they were paying us to go to summer school to get our grades better. That was part of one of the Marion Barry summer programs. And I'm walking through the parking lot of Coolidge, going towards Tacoma swimming pool, and I was going to make that turn and go up to was that Tuckerman Street? I think I was going to go up Tuckerman Street and walk on home and going over to Aspen Street where I lived at. For people who live in DC, you know what I'm talking about, child. So I'm walking through the parking lot, and three of the other guys, they're friends. You never saw them with any girls. See, that's the whole thing. Let me back up for a moment. You notice you never saw any of these niggas with girls? They were always hanging with a bunch of men. Ladies, pay attention to that. They're always hanging with a bunch of men, but they expect you to believe that they're straight. But they're always surrounded by men, no women. These are the same niggas that's always talking about they getting all this pussy, right? Excuse my French, but I'm just saying. But all you see them hanging with are dicks. That's all you see them hanging with are dicks. But yet they're straight, right? Anyway, yeah, I'm being messy tonight, y'all. So anyway, I'm walking home. I'm going to call their names. I'm going to call these three entities' names: Tyrone, Larry, and Eric. Tyrone, well, they called him Ty. I'm assuming his name was Tyrone. It didn't have to be. But Ty, Eric, and Larry. And I was really surprised because I kind of liked Ty. I thought he was a cool dude, right? So I'm walking through the parking lot minding my business like I always do. And I think that because I was standoffish and quiet, that really upset a lot of black men that I went to school for, a lot of black guys I went to school with, because when they're up under that homosexual ritual, not being gay, but when they're up under that homosexual ritual, when they're up under that homosexual entity, and when I say entity, I'm talking about the ritual. When they're up under that entity, even some of the men in the building that I live in, when they're up under that entity of DL and homosexuality, not being gay, when they're up under that ritual, it enrages them when they don't get attention from another man. Whether you are a feminine man, whether you're in between being feminine and masculine like myself, or whether you're a masculine, it doesn't matter. When you don't pay them attention, it enrages them. They'll give you a look, and when you don't give them that look back, it bothers them. I can feel the energy. When you don't want to be bothered with them, when you don't speak to them, it bothers them. And they will find ways to start shit with you. But these are supposed to be straight men, right? Okay. So I'm walking home. Ty, Larry, and Eric. I start hearing them say things like, "Hey, big bubble butt, come give us some head." I'm walking through the parking lot minding my business. So some said, keep going. I kept going. Then they started yelling other obscenities towards me, talking all up under my clothes and stuff. And I've talked about this before. But I never thought about it. I never thought about it. They were in the car. They were in the car with each other. Three funky, sweaty men. Three funky, sweaty men. No women in sight. No girls in sight. They sitting around smoking, looking at my butt, watching me as I leave to go home. But they're talking all up under my clothes, right? So That's when, I mean, the spirit is always revealing things to me. And that's when I realized, I said, oh, because when they started getting real nasty out their mouth, I said, fuck all you motherfuckers in that car. And they got out the car and acted like they wanted to jump me. Of course, they didn't do that. I was able to get out of that. They didn't jump me. They got mad because I said fuck you to them because they were harassing me. That's how bullies do. That's how bullies do. When you try to defend yourself, they're mad. But when I really look back on that situation and a lot of other situations dealing with these types of men, those three dudes, Ty, Larry, and Eric, they were probably all fucking each other. They were probably all fucking each other. Ritualistic homosexuality. And I've talked about that before. Because they were supposed to be in, I guess, a gang or something. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't. But like I said, you never saw these men with women. Not in a serious way. They were always with each other. And around that time, I was messing around with a female. It was a tomboyish type of friend that I had, but I messed that friendship and that relationship up with her because I was a crazy teenager at the time and I had a lot of issues. So I'm gonna just say that I messed that up and I fucked it up royally. Like I said, y'all don't know me, but I'm gonna keep it real with you. I fucked that up. She was a very good person. And I messed it up because I did not treat her right. Because I too was struggling with my own inner demons and my own sexual orientation. You see how that works? But the difference between myself and them, I came to terms. I went and got help. I saw something on Tubi where this guy said, well, black people, we don't go to therapy. All we do is do this and we do that. Yeah, y'all niggas don't go to therapy, and that's why y'all motherfuckers are crazy as a motherfucker. That's why you're crazy as a motherfucker. And I don't give a fuck who that offends. But I remember one time she and I were holding hands in the hallway or something like that. And this guy, I think he's dead now, this guy named Anthony, he's going to say no smooching in the hallways. Here we go again. He was part of a gang on Somerset Street, which was right across the street from Coolidge. He was in a gang on Somerset. And he's telling me and this girl that I was seeing, who I was also friends with, we were just messing around. We were teenagers, 15, 16 years old. We were holding hands in the hallway. He tells me and her, no smooching in the hallway. Because he was jealous. Because he was jealous. Again, you never saw these dudes holding hands with girls in the hallway. You never saw any of them being associated with women. Here I was, a gay guy. And even I had a little girlfriend or whatever the case may be. None of them did, though. They were too busy trying to jump other men who got into it with their friends. They were acting like their male friends. In actuality, let me take that back. They did have girlfriends. The girls just had penises. They were men. It was their male friends, the ones they were smoking weed with, the ones they were in these gangs with. They were lovers. Has anybody ever really examined this from this perspective? You never saw any of these niggas defend women. You saw them exploit women. You saw them mistreat women, but you never saw them really, and truthfully, you never saw them like women. See, there's a difference between having sex with someone, liking someone, loving someone, and exploiting someone. Those are all different fractions of existence. So, has anybody ever really thought of it in that way that a lot of these gangs, a lot of these dudes, they jump on other men because they feel like those men are attacking their lovers? We think these dudes are hard and manly, but they in these groups and in these gangs getting dick down. Getting the boom boom look down. I lick your boom boom down. That's what they doing. That's what that song was about subconsciously. I lick your boom boom down. That's what that song by Erykah Badu subliminally was about. You better call Tyrone. Didn't nobody ever pick up on that? And I talked about that before. That was about a man on the DL. Because a lot of these men don't live in their truth. But what they'll do is this. They'll spot somebody like me who's quiet, didn't bother anybody, like I do now. I don't fuck with nobody until they fuck with me. A lady told me the other day, she said, Seer, one of my neighbors, she said, Seer, you ain't to be played with. She said, I tell people he is a nice guy, but you do not want to get him mad. You do not want to piss him off because it's those nice, quiet ones that you got to worry about. And she's right. She was referring to that time I had to cuss that crackhead lady out who was harassing me and my friend. And this man I had to cuss out. And whatever. But well, I made a point. I was going to make a point on something. But these men, they don't live in their truth. Oh, I know what I was going. I remember now. I know what I was going to say. What they'll do is they'll seek somebody out like me, and they'll start fishing for information. Oh, he gay. He must be gay. He ain't into the same stuff we into. See, homosexuals don't like gay people. Boom, boom. I lick your boom, boom down. Homosexuals don't like gay people because gay people shed light on the secret life of homosexuals. That's why they hate us so much. DL men are homosexuals. And that is why so many of them, in their quest to hold on to whatever type of illusionary masculinity that they think they have, that is why a lot of times when men mess around with other men, 9 times out of 10, they're looking for another masculine man. Now, see, I like masculine men because I'm just attracted to the masculine energy. They like masculine men because they don't want people to suspect that they are homosexual. So when I go onto some of these ads and dating sites for my, I told you I do that as my, undercover work, that's the best way to find out information. There are so many men calling themselves, I'm straight, and I'm looking for other straight men. That's a homosexual dude. But homosexual men don't like gay men because gay men, we live in our truth while they live in lies and deception and pain and misery. And they're comfortable living there. But the thing is, they're hurting people around them. A lot of the violence that you see going on in the inner city, a lot of that is undercover because of undercover subconscious homosexuality. So the best way that they can get it out, because guns, and a gun in especially in dreams, guns represent a form of sexual repression. Guns represent a form of sexual repression. Guns are tied and aligned with sexuality, especially in dreams. If you're having dreams about guns, it means that there's some type of sexual repression going on in your waking life. It's all subconscious. So this is why there's so many violent acts sometimes, because a lot of these men are struggling with their sexual identity. So what they do is, and like they tried to do to me, they react with violence, whether it be with guns or whether it be with their fist. And their violence doesn't stop with other men. They're violent towards women as well. They're violent emotionally, they're violent psychologically. And I can sit here and say that because the girl that I was messing with, that's why she and I, when I was a teenager, 15 or 16, that's why she and I broke up. So I can sit here as a testament and say that I had issues just like them. But see, that was when I was 15 and 16. I went and got help. I went and got help because I knew I had a problem at that particular time. Them niggas, they go throughout the rest of their teenage lives, their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s, and they are still violent, they are still psychotic, and they are still hiding in the shadows, in the dark, within their own homosexuality. But there's another word I wanted to use for that. I think it's called, is it, uh, I forgot the terminology, but there's another terminology that I wanted to use for, is it is it hyper, well, I can use this, hyper masculinity equals homosexuality a lot of times. Look at your Andrew Tates and his brother. Look at them. And I told you all, if you see, you got to listen to the spirit, or you got to listen to what that entity says. They're really looking for men. The things they're asking for in a woman, they're not going to find that. They're going to find that in a man, though. The only thing they're going to be able to find in a woman is somebody to bear them children. But to be able to sit up and point at a woman and snap your finger and say, go cook. No woman is going to put up with that. No woman is going to put up with no man doing that to them. Now, my friend, he can say that to me, not in that way, but he'll come in and be like, can you make me some chicken? He'll come in from work. Make me some chicken nuggets if you don't mind. Something like that. See, it's a difference. I can take a man talking to me like that because I'm a man. And it's really not a big deal. But ain't no woman going to be tolerating no other man. No, I'm sorry, no man telling her, go cook. See, I can deal with that. I know that's above, I know, but I can deal with it because I'm a man. And anytime that I don't want to deal with that, I don't have to deal with that. But my friend talks to me like that all the day. Go make me some chicken nuggets if you don't mind. Okay, you make me some, I feel like making some nuggets because he likes chicken nuggets. But even when you look at all of these men with all of these masculine and all this masculine unbalanced energy, that's homosexuality. It's not gay, it's homosexuality. And they attack women, they attack other men who live their truth, they attack justice, they attack humanity, especially when they see you to be a threat to their existential existence to continuously hide their homosexuality. So that's why I say a lot of these gangs that are supposed to be so big and bad and tough and they want to jump people and harass people and stuff like that, like they did in the 90s, a lot of them were lovers. A lot of them were lovers. They were lovers. But see, don't nobody talk about that. They let them hide and conceal that. But then they want to shame a person who's openly gay. And then you had women who were backing them up. You had women who were backing them up and hiding and concealing their homosexuality, knowing that these men were hyper masculine, undercover homosexuals, but they would let other women date them and wouldn't say anything about it. Now, when I was messing with that girl, that female, when I was 15 or 16, at that point I did not have any I had not had any experiences with men sexually. But these men that I'm talking about, I promise you they had. They had. They had. They were having sexual experiences. You can tell by how they talked. You can tell by the energy that they represented. You could tell. They were making passes at me even then. Like the security guard at Coolidge. And even the uncle that I didn't like told me, he said, Seer, I wish you had told me that when that happened. He said, I wish you had told me that. I said, well, I didn't have that type of relationship with you where I could come to you and tell you that that security guard was sexually harassing me. And at the time, I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to just keep it real at the time because he was kind of good looking. I was like, oh, okay, whatever, you know. But, and then at the time, I didn't really realize that it was sexual harassment. I didn't realize that. Men sexually harass other men too. Gay men do it to straight men. Homosexuals do it to straight men, and homosexuals do it to gay men as well. But see, the thing about homosexuals would make them so, what makes, and let me be clear, there's a difference between homosexual and being gay. What makes homosexuals so different is that they're like chameleons, and they don't have any accountability or any contrition for anything that they do or for the damage that they cause. Just like that guy, and I hate talking about this story again, just like that guy, Ernest Love, who unalived that young boy, Chance Crawford. To me, he's a possible homosexual. All of that hyper masculinity. Even my uncle, the one that I just mentioned, he doesn't know it, but I know he's bisexual. He doesn't know I know that, but that's what people know about him. And he also exhibited a lot of hyper masculine undercover homosexuality as well. He ended up, my uncle, he was married. The marriage did not work out. He ended up on drugs. You see the pattern when you don't get help and you have people on Tubi talking about black people don't do therapy as if that's something to brag about. That's why you motherfuckers are so fucking crazy and misguided now because you don't go to therapy. Not all, of course, but the ones who actually need it. But what makes homosexuals so destructive and so dangerous is that they are like chameleons and they can fit into any mold or any fraction of society. They end up married, they end up having sex with women, having children, and then all the while behind the woman's back, they're having sex with other men They're in these ritualistic homosexual groups, in these ritualistic homosexual Masonic groups, and I don't give a fuck who gets mad about me saying it. Bring it on. But this is the world that we live in. And these are things that happen. So when I look back at the 90s was about homosexuality. I'm sorry, about ritualistic homosexuality as well. And gangs, ritualistic homosexual gangs. That is why they would jump other people if they got into it with one person. They would go and jump that one person. See, I fought them motherfuckers. That's why they could never. I fought them, and they left me alone because they figured out I was crazy, child. Especially after I came outside with those two knives that time, and I was going to do something to all of them. So they left me alone. They left me all the way the fuck alone. I never got jumped. I never got shot. And that is nothing but the grace of the Most High Divine Spirit. But anyway, everything is occultism. And I just see this more as a ritualistic type of energy and entity that really affected a lot of people in the 90s, especially myself. But anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.